the excitement. I'm very excited about this broadcast tonight, not only because we are drawing close to the end of this series, but in fact, we are touching on some very important points tonight. So I'm excited. If you are, please, let's rock and roll. Okay, we shall be starting now. So let me welcome those who are joining us for the first time. I'm kind of looking to see your names. As I get the names, I will just read them out. Um, I want to welcome you very personally. One of the things you can do for us as well is if you go to the chat area, that's the chat button. Okay, yes, that's my brother Stephen. Welcome to the call tonight. Stephen is joining us from Manchester. It's a pleasure to have you. He's been with us before, some time back now, but today we welcome you as new. Okay, right. I threw out a challenge earlier on today for us to go ahead and invite up to 5 people if you can. I hope we've taken that challenge. We want to see what a team can do together. We want to see the power of a team in action. Um, so, for those just joining us, I want to welcome you. Welcome to this broadcast. This is the Executive Network, and this is our leadership broadcast aimed at helping each one to find your true significance and to serve your best to the world. So, welcome to the call. And as you join us, can you please take a moment to introduce yourself via our chat facility that is on the right hand side of your screen? Just introduce yourself, tell us where you're joining us from, and let the other leaders welcome you. And my co-host Tenny is joining us in a moment. He's just finishing off from a meeting, so he's joining us, and together we are going to have one of the best evenings we have had to date. Right, so I'm going to switch my screen as the other leaders join us. If you can just ask them to go ahead on our chat facility and just say hello. Hi, Alexa from Florida. Good to see you tonight. How are you doing? It must be afternoon or evening in Florida, I'm sure. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a while. Good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, we are going to switch the screen. I've said that a few times now, so let's just do it. And we're going to go to the, it's going to be a continuation of the series we started. That's about 10 weeks ago now, or slightly more. We've been going through the 21 laws of leadership that everyone needs to master. Well, when I say master, I mean we need to master a few of them in order to enhance our leadership, our ability to serve. So let me switch my screen. I'm doing that as I'm speaking. And then we will start with the very first, the first one tonight, which is the 16th law we've been discussing. Now, can I just ask very quickly, if you can tell us what's your intention for joining tonight? That would be absolutely fantastic. So go ahead and just tell us your intention for being on this call tonight. And whilst you are doing that, can I also ask you if you can tell us what you are grateful for? So two things. Tell us your intention for joining us tonight, and also tell us what you are grateful for. Tell us your intention for joining tonight and tell us what you are grateful for. If you want to share that with us, that would be absolutely fantastic. So you can use our chat facility as well. Just go ahead, tell us your intention for joining tonight, and also tell us what you are grateful for. We want to promote gratitude on this platform, and we also want to promote intentionality. Right, Tenny is with me now, and we're going to do this together as we've always done. Yes, Alexa, I got a message. It's 4 p.m. in Florida. Absolutely, thanks for letting us know. Right, the first law that we're going to talk about tonight is the law of the Big Mo, and that says momentum is the leader's best friend. Momentum is the leader's best friend. Now, oftentimes we see, especially in the game of sport, we see some maybe soccer, as they call it in the States, or football as we know it in the United Kingdom. You see a particular team on a roll, and they just seem to win every match that comes their way, even on their so-called bad day. Now, you wonder why they do this. Well, I want to talk about that, and the answer is the law of momentum. Imagine a train running maybe at 60 miles per hour, and let's say you have some roadblocks, some blocks on the rail track. I can tell you that the train will just plow through those barriers as though they don't exist. And that's because the train is coming with some huge momentum, driving through and ready to crush every obstruction. So that is talking about momentum. One of the things that we want to do as leaders in practice, as leaders in life, whether that's at home or in our places of work or in specialized outreaches to around the world, one of the things that we want to really build is momentum. And we need to notice that it is the leader's responsibility to build momentum on the team. The leader takes responsibility for building momentum. Just before we started, I was showing a clip of Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketballers we've known in the last century. And one of the things that is peculiar, the clip I showed was a case of one of those days when Michael Jordan was actually a bit ill. He had, I think, a bout of flu. But nonetheless, with Michael Jordan on that team, on that court, the team simply just plowed on and they went on to win. And that's because the person of Michael Jordan talks about leadership on the basketball court. It talks about momentum driving the team towards success. So it is the leader's responsibility to ensure that the team has momentum. And how do we do this? One of the things that the leader must do is to focus on the vision for the team. The vision. Why are we here? We are here to win and not to lose. We are here to make a difference. So it is the leader's responsibility to see that road ahead and simply say, well, nothing will pass except to win. And we notice that momentum really, most of the time, is the difference between winning and losing. It can make all the difference between winning and losing. So that's why we must make it our focus, our priority, to ensure that there's momentum on the team and to make every effort to remove every demotivating factor. So the leader works on momentum, the leader works on motivating the team, the leader exemplifies the behaviors that the team needs to succeed. So what to you would come first between momentum and growth? Obviously, the objective of any organization is to grow. But growth will be hampered when there is no momentum. Now, we said something the last time that people do what people see, not just what they hear. So, which means the leader must take responsibility to model enthusiasm for the team, to model the courage, the never say die attitude that the team must emulate. Otherwise, the team will simply draw back, and once a team loses momentum, the task becomes even harder. Just like I talked about a train that simply plows on because it has momentum, you would imagine that a small piece of rock can stop a train that is standing still. The reason is simple: there is no movement. So momentum talks about the movement and the drive of the team towards their destination. So I want to make a statement, which is this: you cannot kindle a fire in any other person's heart unless that fire is burning in your own heart. Obviously, that statement is from a gentleman called Eleanor Doan. I think the American. So you cannot kindle fire in any other person's heart unless that fire is kindled in your heart. Now, most of us, I know, we are team leaders in our respective organizations, whether that is a for-profit or a non-profit organization. Now, we need to bear in mind that the team will not just be motivated on its own. It is the leader that has to create that momentum, that motivation, that enthusiasm that the team needs to get on to do the job. I've seen a few clubs here in the UK, especially on the field of play when they're playing football. And some of them, you can see that the team is full of potential, but you wonder what is lacking because they just keep either losing or drawing games after games. Whereas, coming to mind now is a team called Tottenham Hotspur. Even though I don't support them, uh, but yet I have to recognize what is going on in that team. They seem fearless. In fact, one of them said the other day, he said, "We feel fearless," just coming on the back of a victory. The reason why that team is plowing on is the law of momentum. They feel invincible. So momentum, actually, we say it is the leader's best friend because it exaggerates the effort of the leader. It makes a person, a leader, seem better than they actually are. So you can see that the converse also is true. Without momentum, a leader looks worse than he actually is, than she actually is. And that's talking about the law of momentum. So my question would be, are we attracting people of like minds to our team? And are we modeling momentum? Because without that, the team will be stopped. Not because the team lacks ability, but because there is no drive in the team. Imagine a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes Benz with several hundred horsepower just parked in the driveway. Now, that car can do 250 kilometers per hour, especially if you put it on the autobahn. But the car is stuck. It reminds me of one of the laws of motion that we talk about in physics, that every object assumes a state of rest until a requisite force pushes it through from that position of inertia. So that is the leader's job. That is your job, and that is my job, to ensure that there is sufficient drive on the team that we are either leading or we are part of. So if you wonder why sometimes the organization seems stuck, it's that law. And you see, as leaders who are just starting out, as young leaders, sometimes we don't really get credit for what we do. And that's because we're just starting, we haven't built momentum over time. And so we seem to exert more effort than the results we get. But I have a piece of news for you. The thing to do, I would suggest, is to carry on and carry through, because as we build momentum, we gather velocity and acceleration, and soon we become unstoppable. And I can tell you that's the story of most of the organizations that we respect this day. As a matter of fact, that's the story of that gentleman, Michael Jordan, because he started as an 11-year-old and kept practicing and practicing until he became one of the fiercest competitors on the basketball court. And he would drive the team to win time and time and time again. As a matter of fact, he won several championships in his during his career. And even now, I was listening to his interview. He was saying that he still has the mind, but not necessarily the body. And I suppose what Michael Jordan can do is to just transfer that ability, that build his legacy in some other people, some younger people. And I think with that, it will be investing in the future. So we said that momentum is the greatest exaggerator. What do we mean by that? It makes you and I look better than we actually are. Once we gather momentum, things seem easier than they actually are. They seem easier because we're not a little effort seems to push bigger load forward. So that's why we want to work on a motivated team. And especially for us, for some of us that might be working with young people, what young people really need is to believe that they can and be given the platform to really express their potentials. Once they are able to and they get it in their mind that this leader that is present with us actually has interest in our abilities, in our persons, the team will soon become a self-managing team. It will become a self-motivating team. Okay, so this is something to really take to mind as we go on. One of the things I also want to say is that momentum is actually easier to steer, STEER, than to start. It's easier to steer momentum than to start it. Of course, oftentimes, like myself, when you drive, you find out that you can use just one finger to steer the steering wheel. And that's because the car is in motion. If the car is in a state of rest, I bet you can't steer the car with a finger. You have to use more energy to drive it. So that's what we mean by momentum is easier to steer than to start. And one of the greatest agents of change that we know of really is momentum. Because once momentum begins to drive, and once a team begins to drive on and really achieving success, achieving greater success than they could actually imagine, then more people begin to believe in the cause. People begin to actually take notice of the cause and say, well, I better join them if I can't beat them. So momentum, once again, is the leader's best friend. Okay, so that would be my short piece on momentum, and I'm going to invite Tenny to come on and just add anything to that if he will. Whilst Tenny is doing that, I'm going to dig out a few items that I have here about how we can apply momentum to our organization, to our private lives, and to what we are engaged in. So, Tenny, if you're ready, I will turn the mic to you. Welcome, my friend.
Hi, Clay. I'm here. And hello everyone, good evening and good day. Obviously, I know we've got people from all around the world. What I was just going to say about momentum very quickly, I think it's a story that has been scientifically proven about when you combine horses together. You know, for instance, if one horse is going to give you maybe 25 horsepower, in linking them, in, putting that horse before a cart and you're trying to pull something. And when you combine that horse with another horse who's probably of the same strength and weight, and by sheer calculation, you're supposed to get double. But it's been scientifically proven that when you link horses like that together, you actually get triple, if not more. And what that shows is, obviously you are adding two 25 horsepower horses together, so it should be 50. But because there is something about creating a synergy, it's the law of the momentum that is at work there, where because you're combining together, you are creating a much powerful force. And that force actually ensures, that you get greater things done compared to when you're doing it alone. And it is from that angle that I look at the law of momentum. How that the more people you have around you, the greater the force you create, and the greater the chance, of accomplishing whatever you set your heart to do. That's it from me, Kule. Your
That's
mic.
powerful. I love what you said about the more people you have around you, the more you can, the more weight you can actually pull through. I think that's why we always talk about uh, team leadership. And if you notice, Tenny, most of the laws that we've spoken about over the last maybe fortnight or even more, they have to do around about team building
Yeah,
and uh, team participation.
yeah,
So, which means an individual who cannot and will not build teams around his or her effort will simply not build momentum in the first instance
yeah,
and will achieve only a fraction of what he or she is capable of.
yeah,
So, absolutely, Tony, it just lays emphasis on building effective teams,
yeah.
teams that can really help to drive an effort. I'm just going to talk about applications of this, Tony, if I can, very quickly.
Go ahead for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the first thing here that I have them on my note, and it says that momentum begins inside the leader and spreads from there. So, which means we can only give that which we have. Momentum is going to start from inside us and then spread out from there. So, a question would be, have we or are we taking responsibility for the momentum in the area of our leadership, whether it's at home or whether it's on the bigger scale and at work and in the missions that we lead? We have to take responsibility for the momentum we want to see. It's that thing that I think it was Gandhi that said it. Said, be the answer to the questions that you ask. Be the answer to the question that you ask. The second one is this: are you passionate about your vision? Are you passionate about your vision? One of the things that I see is that we are constantly being educated out of ourselves. We are constantly being driven, being drawn out of our true passion. And you say passion really is the generator of momentum, is the generator of enthusiasm. So we ought to really be drawn back into ourselves, be educated back into ourselves. It goes with that saying, "Oh man, know thyself." And one other ones I want to say here is this: do you work to motivate others even if you don't feel like? I look, I can say that I can say a lot about this. There are many times I don't feel like doing what I'm doing, even though I love it. But there are times that I just want to take a break. Now, you and I can't afford to do that. You can't afford to take a break. I mean, you can have recreation to recharge, but you can't take a break from life because your passion really is your life. So, um, motivation is a key factor in developing momentum. I will leave it at that, and we can catch up at some other forums to say a few words that I have in mind. Teddy, I think it's time for me to turn over to you to take us through the second law for tonight. That's law number 17.
Thank you, Kule. The law number 17, I'm sharing my screen now, is the law of sacrifice. Oh, sorry, the law of priorities. I'm actually jumping the gun now. And this law, it's very, very important because a lot of businesses all around the world, they've been able to build success upon success by just implementing this law. And it is the law of priorities. It actually allows you to be able to find out what are the things that you do best and add the best value to you. And of course, in all of management, they've even coined out the principle for it. They call it the Pareto's principles, and that's the law of 80-20. And here, what we're looking at is leaders understand that activity is not necessarily accomplishment. How true that is. Coolly, I could remember while I was growing up, there were a lot of things I was doing actively, but they're not really adding any value to me. And I wasn't accomplishing anything. But by the time I get home, I was tired. I was, worn out. Like, I've done a lot, but on the long run, I've not really had any accomplishment. And of course, a lot of management tools have been implemented, including lean methodology, including Six Sigma, obviously the Pareto principles, and a lot of organizations are moving in this direction now. That is prioritizing, their objectives such that they get to do what it is, that they are really good at and add the most value to them. And of course, they try as much as possible to outsource the other things, that would probably just take their time and really wouldn't add so much value to them. And moving on here, we've got that leaders never advance to a point where they no longer need to prioritize. Leaders would always prioritize. It is important. Leaders would always prioritize. And here it says being busy doesn't mean you are achieving. Kule, you might want to help me with projecting the slides, please. I think I noticed my slides are not moving. And here it says that being busy doesn't mean you're achieving. You could be busy doing a lot of things that are not achieving value to you. It said, ask the question, what are you accomplishing? So in your business, what are you accomplishing? That should be the question. It says prioritizing requires leaders to continually think ahead and see how everything relates to the overall vision. How important that is. The leader must be able to think ahead and be able to map whatever it is they're doing now to the overall vision. Does it really get me to where I really want to go? If it's taking so much of my time, is it pushing me so much in the direction that I'm going? If the answer is no, then you need to sit back and find out who can help me do this so that I can focus on a lot of other things that will get me closer to my vision as much as the input I'm putting into it. And that's what the law of priorities is all about. Is that prioritizing causes us to do things that are least uncomfortable and sometimes painful. Because, as human beings, we could be prone to doing things that are easy, at the expense of the things, that are important. Because the important things, I can tell you, most often than not, they will be difficult and painful. They will be uncomfortable and painful. Because like one of my mentors would say, it says that anything worthwhile is uphill. And you don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm feeling good, I just want to go uphill. No, there is something that is driving you to go uphill. You don't just wake up and say, I want to walk up the hill and just go up the hill without doing anything. It's important. So what do you do normally? You ensure that you set out, intentionally to go uphill. And you find out that the things that will get you to go uphill, they are uncomfortable. They might be painful at times, but they are the things that will get you closer to your destination. And they will get it closer to your destination quicker. So you find out that today, I will get the right things done, which is the right thing to say. When you're launching out or when you're doing anything, just say to yourself, today, I'll get the right things done. And that helps you. And of course, he helped position you in the right path. And before you know it, you're actually doing the things that are adding the most value to your vision. And we're going to move on to the next slide. And here it talks about the 3 R's for priorities. The 3 R's for priorities. And the first one is required. What is required of me that nobody can or should do for me? So you need to be able to identify those things. What is it that I'm the only one that could do it for me? Once you identify that, prioritize those. Because the truth is, if you get that right, you will definitely be moving in the right direction. And number 2, the second R is return. And here it says, what gives the greatest return? What am I doing that can be done at least 80% as well as someone else? Discover your strengths. It is important, brothers and sisters, that we identify what it is that I do very well. So number 1, you have to find out what it is that I'm the only one that could do it. And the second thing is what it is that I do, and I do it excellently well. And then, of course, the last R is reward. And the question that answers is, are you doing the things you love? Are you doing the things you love? It says your passion will provide you with the fuel you need to keep you doing it. He said, do not neglect what you love. Make a list and then prioritize your time around this list. So we're looking at reward as doing something you love. We're looking at return as doing something that you are good at, something you are the greatest at. And required, we're looking at something that no one else could do for you. And of course, on this part, which is the last part of the slide, it says, great leaders hold their goal to make each player succeed in unity with the other team players to win. So the goal of a leader is to ensure that everyone is doing that which they know to do best. And of course, working collectively as a team to ensure victory. How lovely the law of priorities are. I love this. There was a story, really, I'm just going to round up with this, of a man who was trying to get the attention of a chief executive officer of one of the companies in his town. He's an entrepreneur, and I think he has a product that he supplies. So he was thinking of getting the audience, of the CEO. And they said that he tried. I think he tried for about 18 months. Every Monday for 18 months, he kept calling this office, demanding that he wanted an audience with the CEO every Monday. It got to a point the CEO knew who this man was. And then there was a Sunday that he missed calling. And guess what happened? The CEO returned the call and said, "What happened to you today? We've not heard from you." And of course, what had happened was the man was ill and he couldn't make the call. So it was like, "Oh, I was in the hospital and things like that." And then the CEO said, "All right, I'll give you an audience. Come and see me." And of course, he eventually came. And what happened was the CEO was like, "Yeah, you've pitched well. I like you. I like your product, but there is no part of the organization that your product fit into." But the CEO said something, but he said, "Go think about something that you could offer to Ross, and I will pay you," I think he said $20,000. He said, "Think of an idea that you can bring in, and they will implement that idea, and they will pay you for that idea." And guess what this man came up with? He came up with a simple idea. He said, everybody within the organization, get them every day to write out 6 things they're going to do that day in order of priorities, and that they should try as much as possible to stick to that list. Just 6 things you will do every day. And it says that they rolled out that initiative within the organization, and that made that organization grow from the level they are then to become one of the greatest steel industry in America. It's a true life story. They became one of the greatest steel industry simply because they implemented the law of priorities. Law of priorities will change your life. It will move you from where you are to where you should be. Colin, that's that from me on the law
Well,
of
thanks,
priorities.
my friend. Thank you. I really enjoyed that true life story. I'm going to also share a true life story as well, since you started returning. Um, this is a moving story, and it's going to lead us to the next law. The next law talks about the law of sacrifice. The next law talks about the law of sacrifice. So I'm just going to keep this slide on for a moment so that we can soak it in, and then I will tell this story. Um, if we have time, I will have just read the whole story so you can really appreciate it. But this story is about a lovely woman who lived about the mid 1850s in America. This woman was born a slave, and she demonstrated exemplary courage, character, sacrifice to not just only gain her freedom, but to also help other people to gain theirs in time. Her name is Harriet Tubman. Look it up, Harriet Tubman. Now, what is so special about this? I will fast forward to where we are now. The American $20 bill is just being changed. Alexa would know this, and our friends from the United States. The $20 bill is going through some change now, and guess whose portrait is going to grace the front of the $20 bill? It is none other than this gracious woman, Harriet Tubman. And you know the irony of this all. The $20 bill was formerly graced by a gentleman called Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was a former president of the United States, but incidentally, he was also a slave owner. Now, you know what is interesting? Whilst Harriet Tubman will grace the front page, the front part of the $20 bill, President Andrew Jackson is being moved to the back of the same $20 bill. And I think that's interesting because it's telling a story. It's saying that, number one, oppression cannot last forever. Number two, the human spirit cannot be dominated forever. Number three, courage will always triumph over oppression. I could go on, but the story of this woman is so interesting. Um, back in that time, she was obviously a slave, and it happened that her own slave owner died. The gentleman of the house died, and so she decided to seize the opportunity and escaped. In those days, you would escape to the northern part of America. You would escape up north, where the slavery wasn't that practiced. So you just escape there, and you could walk free. Now, she decided not to go alone. She went, found her brothers, two of them, and decided to escape with them. Now, on that mission, whilst they were still about escaping, there was news went around, and the wife of the slave, the madam of the house, actually uh, got the the, uh, the leaders of that time to raise to put a ransom on their heads, and the ransom was $100 compensation for anyone that would find them and return them back, not just to her, but straight into prison. Now, the two little brothers chickened out, and they walked. They simply returned back to slavery. But this woman, alone and courageous, she said, "No, I will go up north and be free." So she left, she took that journey, and history has it that she walked by a particular river there until she made it to freedom. Now, this woman could have just said, "I'm free now," and so every other person can chart their course or do whatever they want to do with their lives. She made it a responsibility instead to see to the freedom of other slaves. So she went to work as a nurse and as a homekeeper, and she would do whatever is necessary to gain money and to save money. And she would make trips back down south in spite of the enormous risk involved, and would at times buy up other slaves that were being put on auction. It so happened that she teamed up with other individuals who are equally passionate about the dignity of mankind, and she was able to buy the freedom of her brothers and her parents in time. Now, this woman played a pivotal role during the American Civil War, and in time, she became a notable figure who was known for the promotion of the abolition of slave trade in America. Her name is none other than Harriet Tubman. And the beautiful thing is, even though she's long gone, history is remembering her kindly. And she's now gracing the, the front page, the front part of the American $20 bill. And a slave owner who was also a president at the time is now being pushed back. And I think that was just making a statement, which is truly important. Now, the thing to highlight with this story is this: that a leader must give up to go up. In other words, we cannot want to eat first as leaders. Leaders must always seek to eat last. Leaders must be willing to pay the price today for the success that they want to see tomorrow. So, Tony mentioned just a moment ago that the way to success leads up and not down. In other words, we need to we must be willing, we must be ready to move against the tide to achieve the success that truly belongs to us. When I say success, I'm defining this in a very broad terms. I'm talking about to release the potentials in us to achieve our life's purpose, to achieve our short-term goals or long-term objectives. We must be ready to move uphill. As a matter of fact, the higher we grow in our leadership, the smaller our options become. And that's because leaders live a very narrow life. Leaders don't have much options. And imagine this, the more you climb up, the more it is easy to see your underskirt. So it's a somber feeling that as we seek to pursue the purposes of our life, what we are truly passionate about, we must know that our liberties actually shrink. Leaders actually have shrinking liberties as they go up. Why? Leaders are often easy targets because once you decide to step out in your purpose, then you are standing out of the crowd, so it means you become more visible. So that's not to scare anyone, but it's just to say to state the reality of of the desire to achieve what we truly are born to do. You know, the converse is simply to disappear into oblivion, is to disappear and never truly be found. Okay, so uh, this is something to really take note of, and I'm going to share the screen just to continue this. Now, the question that comes to mind is this: what sacrifices have you made to get to where you are today? And if you have made sacrifices, and I'm sure you have, I can tell you, especially for people who grew up in similar environments as I did, sometimes you really have to really work twice hard than you need to move ahead. So I can understand that. Now, if you are a business owner, you know that no one gives anything to you on the plate, on a pot of gold. You work for it. You know that as I do. So you have made sacrifices to be where you are today. But a similar question would be, what sacrifices are you willing to make for where you want to go? What sacrifices are you willing to make? I mean, you and I know this. Nothing good comes easy. Gold is not found on the surface. Petroleum, every precious thing, is not found on the surface. We have to dig. So my question would be, what have you traded so far? And what did you receive as a result of your trade? Because I'm sure you have traded something. But can I also tell us something again, or as a reminder, that sacrifice is an ongoing process. It just never stops. It changes in nature, but it never stops. Sacrifices are not one-time payment. You know, the story of Harriet Tubman is really insightful. But what about the likes of Martin Luther King Jr.? What about the likes of Nelson Mandela? What about the likes of Mahatma Gandhi? These individuals made sacrifices. Some of them made the ultimate sacrifices to really pay in advance for the freedom of others. Okay, now that seems far-fetched. But what about the other people that we know in business and in other walks of life who really decided to burn the midnight candle, the midnight oil, to really be able to serve the people in their generation? So this is the call. This is a call, really. It's a call to all of us. Growth stops when the price gets too high to pay. In other words, when the price becomes something that a leader is unwilling to pay, then growth stops. And you remember the last time we said that maybe we should quit asking how long it will take. Let's ask how far can I go? How far can I go? Okay, so where do you want to be? That's my question. Where do you want to be? And what price are you willing to pay for where you want to be? Where do you want to be? And what price are you willing to pay? You know, look at this screen. Destination disease. We're not talking, that's why I said that we should stop asking how long it will take. Because then we are thinking in finite terms. Let's think, how far can I go? Because thinking how long will it take is synonymous to having that arrival mentality. I've arrived. No, no. How far can I go? How far can I go? So this actually calls for a change in our. It calls for a change in our paradigms. A change in our paradigms. Practicing the law of sacrifice will not only get you to the top of the mountain, but it will keep you there. Because when we talk about sacrifice, we're actually talking about something that has to do with building character. You know, competence is one, character is another. And I can tell you, my friends, that one of the things that we need to deliberately, intentionally cultivate is the willingness to build our characters. The willingness to build character. A leader that says, look, just look at my competence and forget about my character is a leader on his or her way down. And we don't want to be there. You know, when I was speaking to my friends to come to the platform tonight, to this broadcast tonight, you know, they actually didn't know what we are about. They thought it would just be one of those motivational speaking. We're not motivational. This is not motivational speaking at all. This is live speech, really. We're talking about things that we need to inculcate, the things we need to build into ourselves on the way to where we're going, because everyone is on a journey, absolutely everyone. But wouldn't it be easier to learn better ways to get there, or better ways to continue the journey, than to simply just go on assumption and just figure it on as we go? I would say sometimes there are some mistakes that one can make and recover, but some mistakes can be very fatal. And you know, remember the story of the young man and an old man, who actually the story talks about, you know, knowing the road ahead. The young man was asking the elderly man how he's able to walk on water, and then, you know, in the end, the old man simply said, I know where the rocks are. I know where the rocks are. So it seems like magic. It seems like I'm just getting ahead. But it's because that old man has fallen many times and eventually has figured out where the rocks are. So it helps actually to have some of this input to help us as we journey along. So I can only honor the presence of our friends who are here today. Alexa, Ayo, you know, Awa, you know, Adeshewa, Stephen, Sally. Sally is my cousin. You know, I'm blessed to have some of the people that I share. You know, I have, you know, blood connections with, being with us, and even some of our young ones. Simi is also on the call, and some other young ones. Some of our leaders have made it they made a duty to bring along their young ones. Awa always brings in a son, because when these young people get some of this input now, they grow in a particular environment which says that only the best of them is worth presenting to the world. So, Teddy, I think I'm likely to go on and on if you don't stop me. So let me stop myself for now. Yeah, tell it. Let's
Great,
go.
great words, Colette. Great words. I don't really have any other thing to say to that.
Yes. So
The
thank you.
story was awesome, and yeah, thank you so much for that insightful rendition. It was good.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. You know, telling makes me better.
Now we compliment each other. Doing that.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So, I mean, I really want to appreciate. I can't see all of the names, but I'm sure some of my associates. As a matter of fact, I spoke to some of my friends that we went to school together about 27 years ago, and some of them are on the call today. I think Wale is on the call, so I just want to appreciate you for coming along. And my other friend, Sam, good to see you. So I just want to really honor everyone who is here with us today. I put out a challenge earlier on today, and that challenge is very simple. Why don't we reach out to other people and bring them along? As a matter of fact, I want to also honor Ayo for doing that. The reason is this: is we're not interested in crowd because on this platform we understand that change through transformation is only possible with a small number of committed people who want to see transformation. So crowd is not the point here, but we want to see people truly transformed. We want to bring everything that we know, bring everyone that we know, bring everything on the table so that you and I can take that next step forward. Sometimes I can say this, that it's not that we don't understand our mission and our purpose. The problem often is courage. Because look, to stand out of the crowd is difficult because then your people who have known you for 20 years will say, you look, I know how you smell, and you tell me that you have something great to do, go and sit down. So I understand that. That is why having this form of input and seeing other people on this platform, people who otherwise would have been called nothing, stepping out in their gift. This is why we do this. So go ahead when we're meeting in a fortnight, bring at least one person along. Have let them even see that what they are thinking about is possible, that they can do what is on their minds. They can do it. And we believe that. And we want to see you do it. As a matter of fact, I've often said that I want to see all of us, as many people that want to present to us, just come along and prepare your slides and just speak to us. Make it as long or as short as you wish, but come ahead and and practice your, and you are going to where you want to be, but you have to go from where you are. So come along and let's also come alongside of you and let's grow together. So that's why we do this. Let me also quickly say that this series ends in a fortnight. Okay, so which means we are then going to go on a totally different journey from that point on. I want to bring some of my mentors, Dr. Martin William. I want to bring Trista again. I want to bring some of the great people that have been doing inspiring things, and of course, we want to bring you. So come along. I'm going to just throw the challenge out. So if you want to come along, please do so. Let's come and teach us. Come and help us grow. Right, so we can begin to round up. If there's any comment, if anyone wants to say anything, please go ahead and do so. If you want to just come alongside with us and just say hello to the other leaders, you can do so. You can do so. When we're on this platform, as we're on this platform, there's only one thing we're going to be hearing is kingdom and leadership, and that's because everyone is a leader, not over people. So that makes it makes it relieving. We feel relieved when we know that it's not over people. You are a leader in your area of gifting. And when you find your gift and you also find the courage to serve your gift, and to produce the best version of it, which is always ahead, then you are becoming the leader that you are born to be. Yes, everyone is a leader, but we have to become the leader. Just like the lion cub is lion, but it has to grow into a mature lion whose roar can shake the forest. So there you are. We want to really honor you for being here tonight or this afternoon. It's 5 o'clock in Florida for Alexa. So Alexa, good to see you, and always a pleasure to see you as ever. And to all of my friends in the United Kingdom, Sally, good to see you. Good to see you. We'll catch up shortly. So I want to say hello, thank you to everyone, and I want to wish you a very pleasant evening and good night to everyone. God bless you.